that, Jay?
Area 51.
Sounds really familiar.
Yeah, so for those listening, what you'll never hear is the 15 minutes we just talked about this without recording.
So that was my fault. You didn't miss too much. Maybe we'll do it better the second time. So,
That's a good way to look at it.
That's right. We got a little practice in. I kind of know where this is going. This isn't something that I know a whole hell of a lot about, at least for this one. I have seen the stuff on social media and read a few things about it, but so what do you think?
It's weird doing the start over because I feel like I'm talking to my kids now. Like they didn't listen to anything I just said, and we have to start all over again.
See, I have more time to think about it now, so I might be able to give you a better retort.
Yeah. So this guy puts the joke Facebook post up saying, on this date, let's all storm Area 51, and then it kind of gains some traction. Now there's, I think, it's like 500,000 people say they're going, and another 500,000 that are interested, which of course they're not going to show up, but.
So why did he put it up? I never did understand that reason. What was the reason?
I think it was just a joke.
Like what? I mean, like what created that joke? You know what I mean? Like what got him to that point?
I don't know for sure. Yeah. I don't think he's really said too much about it. My guess is like there's a show on Netflix now. Bob Lazaro, I think his name is. Okay. Who like a guy who said he used to work at Area 51 and was involved in all this stuff. Yeah. So maybe he watched that and just thought it'd be funny to.
Hey, let's just go do it. Yeah. Yeah, and his whole premise is you can stop one, but you can't stop many. Was that ever his intent in the?
Well, it was even a joke, like the Naruto running or whatever. I guess like an anime thing where if you put your arms behind you and put your head forward, you can run faster than bullets. So it's just he's like if we all Naruto run, or I'm probably not saying that right. So the anime people they're gonna freak out on me,
right?
But if we run like that, they can't stop us, and they can't stop all of us. And I'm just like. Yeah, they probably can.
So I did see a short clip of him basically saying, "Yeah, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It was a joke. I put it up, and the next day I know I either check it. I think he said like the next day or a couple hours or something later, and at that time something I think he said something like 50,000 people had responded to the event. And he's like, uh oh,
yeah, whoops,
uh oh, he just made a list.
Yeah, and I think his what's his channel like shit posting. I don't know.
What was that?
His channel is like shit posting because my life's in shambles or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, so it was definitely meant to be a joke, and it definitely gained a ton of traction.
So I mean, you could almost make a TV show, based around this premise now, right? I mean, because they've done all these things, the zombie shows or zombie apocalypse. What if?
Yeah, and that's what gets me about it. Like, there's no part of me that thinks 500,000 people are actually going to show up. Yeah. And being in a band. We know that if 500 people say they're going to an event,
interested.
100 people will show up.
I think I posted on Facebook. I said, a lot of people sign up for things and never go, like the gym, the library, voting.
Yeah.
Millions of people are signed up to vote every year and never show up.
Exactly. So there's no way 500,000 people will actually show up.
It's one thing clicking a button on Facebook.
My question was like, what if like 20,000 show up or even 10,000?
Yeah, in one concentrated area, right?
Yeah, and what if they actually were like, okay. We're gonna walk up to Area 51.
I mean, it's plagued with so many problems. And one, logistic problems. Just getting that many people in that area alone is logistically staggering.
Think Woodstock.
Yeah, I think Woodstock. Or any major sporting event you think of, and just think of the traffic delays that we have, and in places that are designed to actually,
not in little
tolerate
shanty towns in the middle of the fucking desert.
With 2-lane, highways out in the middle of the desert with, the last place you can get fuel is, 30, 40 miles away. I don't think
people realize that if you have 10,000 or 20,000 or God forbid 500,000 fucking people in an area, that's a lot of pee and poop.
That's a lot of, that's
like, it's got to go somewhere,
I mean, that's twice as many people that live in the city of Toledo, Ohio, which, not a huge town, but big enough. That's a lot of people.
I'm sure they have a pretty big waterworks department and sewage.
Absolutely,
that's
And so you think, okay, well,
it's a logistical nightmare
because this is a movie, right? We're gonna dramatize this. This is a movie, so we don't think about any of that stuff. All of a sudden, these people will just they're there.
Yeah,
you pan in, and all of a sudden, let's just say, 50,000 people. Right?
It's a good number.
50,000 people all in their little TP. Or UFO tents and got all their garb on and ready to go. Now they're not armed, right? Just regular citizens.
I think if they're armed, that would change.
Yeah.
How this would be, because it brought my question up was what would happen if it not movie wise, but like in real life, if these people actually showed up and actually started walking towards the base,
right?
You're gonna have news helicopters there. It's gonna be covered live on TV. It's gonna be a big deal. Will the government actually defend its base with lethal force
Man, it'd be like O.J. Simpson running from the cops back in the 90s. You know what I mean? Right. Like everybody remember
the old white Bronco.
Yeah, the white Bronco. So you got everybody out there, and you're probably right. Say 50,000 people showed up, 49,000 of them would be journalists and everybody, and everybody else, TV crews. But so they're out here, and let's just move away from the movie premise, but kind of with the movie idea that we're going to suspend some realities here.
As far as where they're going to be in poop.
Yeah, right. It's all the logistics. We're just going to suspend reality and say, okay, let's say it happens. They're there. And they show up in one mass and they go arm in arm, like hands across America,
which
hands across
miserably.
51, hands across 51. And they just start heading towards what? Just the gate or, out in the middle of nowhere?
Well, I guess, there's not really a lot of it is open.
Right.
I think they have sensors out there. Mm-hmm. I've seen the YouTube videos. If nobody listening has seen them, you should check them out. Like the camo dudes is what they call them. Mm-hmm. These guys come out, and they're not fucking around. They have no sense of humor. They are, and if it turns out that the camo dudes, I found out aren't even our military.
They're security?
Yeah.
No kidding.
They're paid for security.
Interesting.
They're, what do they call those?
Security.
Paramilitary or like the ex-military, company that they hire in for like it's what you get like if you go
contractors.
Security contractors. You get like overseas or whatever.
Yeah.
But these guys, like the videos I've seen of them, they're not fucking around. They have no sense of humor at all. They're fucking armed to the teeth, and they're allowed to use lethal force to protect the base.
Yeah, so that's the thing is protect the base against what, right? So a national threat, a foreign threat. And it kind of brings up the thing, would they use lethal force on their own citizens that seemingly are, and I wouldn't say demonstrating is not the right word, but I mean.
Well, in a way they are, because they with these people, and again, this is only the people that would show up and actually do it. I think they're convinced that there's UFOs in there.
Sure.
And they think that it's our right to know it, and it's, everybody should be in on the loop of the knowledge or whatever. And so they're there, protesting that the government is keeping this from the people. I think that's the main aspect. If anybody would actually seriously show up and be dumb enough,
definitely going to be some people are going to show up, right? I mean, some people are going to. I think you had said earlier in the tracks that weren't taken that there's a hotel out there that's completely booked.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's not a lot of.
The woman who owns it said that she's like, no, these people are coming. Like we sold out. They're now. I think. In reality, what's going to happen is you're going to have 1,000 or 2,000 people show up. It'll be a party.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get some bands.
It'll be like Burning Man or something.
It'll just be a little, get together. And you might have one or two morons that actually
I survived Area 51
onto the base.
Yeah. Get arrested.
And get turned around or get arrested.
Yeah.
And one or two people, even under 100 people is easy to deter.
Right.
You don't need a big force to do that.
No.
Especially when you've got options that they've got. And if the TV cameras aren't running, then my guess would be, if you don't listen when they say get the fuck out of here, I think they're going to shoot you. Like I really honestly think that, and they're allowed to.
Let's jump on that. So
there's signs up that say they can use lethal force.
They can use lethal force, this is where
take it to any other base.
I'm not against it, but it kind of reminds me of. So I was trying when I screwed up here. I wanted to look up some things because I thought there was some issue that was put out here in the Congress, yada yada, that exists. And they call it I'm going to butcher this, but the Posey Committus Act, the United States federal law, signed in 1878, obviously an old one, by Rutherford B.
Hayes.
Yeah, we know this guy, Ohio boy.
I mean,
he's an Ohio boy.
We don't know him. But
well, I visited his grave, so I feel
I've seen where his horse is buried.
And the purpose of the act, in concert with the Insurrection Act of 1807, is to limit the powers of the federal government in using federal military personnel to enforce domestic policies, which that would be a domestic policy, right? I mean, right? Within the United States.
But that's the catch, is that a base isn't like I don't know. I think that doesn't.
So I would think to have this happen to them, to actually use that kind of force on a large scale. And again,
maybe that's why they have contractors and it's not the actual military.
Very, very interesting, right? Because they're not directed by, I mean, we already have, military, not federal, but police aren't federal. Well, the FBI is, and they use force.
And most local cops think they are.
But to enforce domestic policy. So right here, here's this article that exists that's been passed that, basically
we don't
limits
follow that shit from back in the day, man. Nobody pays attention to any of that.
Well, and to your fact, it's like, so has there ever been a time in history that the United States government, federal government, has used its military power to overwhelm its citizens? Let's just say, let's skip the Civil War, right? Because obviously, yes. But yeah, and sure even in fairly recent times, even during strikes, the federal government has, put the National Guard and other things out there to knock down a strike.
Unquote, keep the peace.
Keep the peace. In the coal mining strikes, I can't remember what year it was, but it was back when they were striking there for better wages, safer environment. They went out there and just slaughtered them. And again,
there's songs about it.
Is there?
Yeah.
What song is that?
I guess it's a Rancid song.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'll have to look it up for you.
Huh, interesting. But
it's in my head right now, but I can't think of the name of it, and I'm definitely not going to sing because people will turn off their devices.
That's why you're a drummer, right?
Yeah.
So it's not. It's so we say like the Fox News and everybody else is going to be out there observing what is going to happen.
With one or two people, you don't need lethal force. You can
intimidate
unless you show up on a base and you're armed. I think if you do that, you're going to get shot. If you just show up,
start running towards it, they're just going to knock you down and
a rubber bullet, whatever. But they can stop you without having to kill you at that point. But that's one or two people. If it is 10,000, okay, you can't. It's not equal numbers anymore. Mm-hmm. So I think, like we had said in the unrecorded part, they're going to pull out, the subsonic.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they're going to use pepper spray.
Less than lethal
they're going to use
stuff.
gas. They're going to
come by with a plane and dump some kind of like tear gas type, chemical warfare, not chemical warfare, but deterrent.
I mean, in a way.
Right, yeah.
But I think they would use that.
I think they're going to use bravado, for lack of a better term, to intimidate and push people away. And then the few that, decide to say, charge and gung-ho, and there's like,
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Good luck, motherfucker.
Good luck, motherfucker.
Right? You're not getting there.
That's right. That's a nod to Tyler Cassidy right there.
Right.
But yeah, so let's just suspend that. So here they are. They're running. We're using the less than lethal force. My concern is, what does that say to the rest of the world about the federal government, America for that matter, our security, the homeland security for that matter.
Yeah.
Of, hey, if there's enough people that get together and that you can.
You're saying like, what if they botch it?
What? Who? The federal government?
Yeah.
Well, no, that's another story. On the base? What's another story? But I'm just saying, like, the rest of our enemies and the rest of the world see that, there's an opportunity that the government doesn't want to look like they don't want to look tyrannical, right? They don't want to look tyrannical, so they're not going to put the full military might to put down their citizens. Does that somehow recharge some underground movement to overpower and to again circumvent our national security?
Yeah,
it is kind of disconcerting, right? Our own citizens are kind of putting us out the shelf of out in the purview, going, "Hey, we're going to expose all our weaknesses."
Yeah, well, what if there were 50,000 people that all assembled at the border of Mexico and decided to walk across? It's the same concept.
Well, I mean, shoot, there was only a couple thousand and they made it across.
Yeah. So I mean, it goes back to that idea of strength in numbers and all that.
Well, yeah, you can't stop them all. That's what the meme says. And then as an A-10 warthog come through with the, I can't remember what caliber that is, but it shoots something like 3,000 rounds a minute.
Insane.
Yeah. It just basically says,
yeah, and then everything just turns into dust.
Yeah, napalm, some
mist.
Agent Orange, mist, pink mist. I would hate to be the people having to sit at a round table right now going, what are we going to do about this?
And then how funny is that, too, that some guy somewhere makes this post as a joke, and now I guarantee he's got an FBI folder on him.
Oh, for sure.
I guarantee they've done the background checks on him.
For sure.
The Air Force actually came out and issued a response.
Now, how'd they issue this response? Was it like to a news conference, or was it on Twitter or something?
I don't know. I just remember reading it.
Gotcha.
And it basically said we take security very seriously. We would not recommend anybody,
give this a shot.
Do that. Yeah, it's a very bad idea, basically. So they're already starting with some intimidation.
So you're not going to go?
Fuck no.
Are you going to be glued to your TV or your internet watch and see what happens?
I think a lot of people are going to watch because I guarantee you some people are going to show up. I don't think if I had to pick or guess what was going to happen, again, a few thousand people show up. It'll be a party. Mm-hmm. They're not going to storm that base.
Well, I
wish, but I want them to. Is it weird?
Just out of curiosity of to see it play out. Like what would happen?
The reason I don't want him to is I don't want anybody to get hurt.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, it just opens up a whole slew of other problems. Like I said, exposes us, our national security issues.
Strength in numbers.
Strength in numbers. I mean, that's true.
Which is the thing if you get lazy Americans to actually, get together and do anything.
Right.
Which is difficult because we have TVs and smartphones and things.
But the government, originally when it was formed, allowed for this kind, I shouldn't say this kind of stuff, but allowed for the people to turn around and go, you know what, we don't like how this is going. We want to start a new government and then change. Yeah. It's in the Constitution. It's built in there. Do you
think that in this day and age,
that's the thing, could you actually make it happen?
I think that the military at that point would say, okay, that's really great of you guys, but no.
Well, that's like, and I learned some things that I'd had some things wrong, some facts wrong about the Civil War and that matter of, when the South decided to secede. I always thought it was their right to secede, and I started kind of digging into the Constitution, what it says about secession.
Yeah.
And it basically says, no, we all have to secede, basically.
Yeah. You can't
the collective has to succeed from the Union, not just a few. You can't have one state, it can't be two states, at least not legally, not by what's in the law right now, but legally if all 50 states decide, no, we're abolishing the Union.
Yeah, we're starting over.
And kind of
Let's
similar.
Let's fucking go. Let's do it.
I don't know that would be any better.
You're probably right.
As faulty as our system may be at times.
You mean is?
Is.
Yeah.
I don't think everything is, but yes, it is. We do pretty damn good. At a lot of things.
Whole other podcast.
A whole other podcast, yeah.
A whole other thing.
I'm glad to be here, and I'll tell you, on my little cruise, I went on a cruise and talking to people that have been to other places, and we talk about traveling out of the country, and everyone says, you go to some of these other places, and you just, when you come home, you're like, I'm really glad I live where I live, because things just, and I'm not saying that's everywhere, but there are some places in this world that's just
for sure
match here.
I'm not saying we have it like the worst.
Well, even the fact that if some of these places in the world were to do what we're doing right now, one, having this conversation, or even that guy who put that little invite up would be in the world of hurt right now, or dead for that matter, in a cell somewhere, and he was a joke, a joke gone wrong.
You don't make jokes like that.
No. So does he show up?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I never thought of that.
He has a YouTube channel, right? Or something. He's some kind of content creator.
I don't know what he does. Okay. I'd have to look into it.
I would imagine he's either some Instagrammer or some kind of influencer or something on a lower level. He is now.
Fuck is now, yeah.
Or I don't think he wants to be, not for this reason, because
I think so.
You think so?
Dude, imagine if you did something that went so viral. I mean, you got to run with that opportunity. If we had all of a sudden 1 million downloads of an episode,
not if it gets me the negative attention like this guy's getting from the people who.
They say, what is it?
Can take me out.
No such thing as bad publicity, right?
It is when you piss the Clintons off.
That was really fucking good.
I'm just saying.
I wasn't expecting that.
We're gonna leave that in there.
All right, I'm sorry. You fucking broke me. I was not expecting that. There might be a couple deaths in their wake, but I'm not talking about that because I don't want to be one of them.
Me neither. It does make you a little paranoid, though. I mean, again, if I was him, I'd be paranoid as hell.
Oh, okay.
And your phone's being bugged. Everything you do, and it's there. I shouldn't say being bugged. I'm sure there's legal protocol that they can't, but it would make you think at least that is happening.
Yeah. Don't bullshit it like that out of me.
I'm just saying. I mean, that's the rumor, right?
That joke that somebody said something bad about the Clintons, and then 2 weeks later he committed suicide, and they're like, "Oh, really?" And he shot himself 4 times.
4 times in the head. From 20 feet.
Yeah. So anyway, thought derailed too.
Well, I said, does he show up? Being a content creator, this is an opportunity for him he could live broadcast and
sure.
the sponsorships that he could probably get.
If I was him, I would turn it into an event and be like, okay, we're not storming shit. First of all, that's a bad idea.
Right.
I was joking. But if people are actually going to show up, man, get a stage, get some bands.
Well, again, that kind of reminds me of Firefest, man. The guy who tried to put Firefest together and everything fell apart, and basically people were living in FEMA tents, and it's like, is that going to happen this time? The federal government that you're coming in there to storm has to come in there and actually save your ass, because there ain't enough fuel to get home. Everybody's stuck out in the middle of the desert with no food, no water.
Right.
It would be a hell of a story, disaster. But it would be a disaster of epic
people
proportions.
Start fighting on for water, and it'd be a mess.
I mean, it's screwed
like
up.
You said, fuel. People don't think about that. if 10,000 people all of a sudden descend on a place, there's only the fuel doesn't just magically show up. Somebody had to bring it there, and
well, think that again, we're talking. We kind of say things we bounce around about as many people, but let's just go with that 500,000 people mark, right? And I don't know if we was in the earlier part or not, but Toledo being about 250,000 people or plus,
twice the population.
So twice the population of Toledo. When the power went out, or 9/11, some of those big national events that we had here. Mm-hmm. People went out and got fuel, and within a couple hours, it had drained the entire city of fuel. And it wasn't even everybody, right? That was just a small percentage of people that went and decided to fuel at one moment. And so I'm just saying, and that's a city.
It's going to be $20 a gallon tomorrow. Yeah. No, dude. No, it's fucking not, you moron.
You know what? It depends on what would have happened, right?
Not really. Okay.
I mean, so supply and demand being what it is.
I didn't wait in line for 6 hours to buy 10 gallons of fuel because I'm not a fucking idiot.
We knew that it wasn't as dire as it probably
Anybody who
seemed.
sat in those lines on 9/11 to get gas were fucking stupid.
I agree. I mean, when you never faced anything like that before, and you know that if
it makes sense.
If that wasn't the only thing that happened today.
What you should do is panic. Yeah, that's always a good idea. No.
But if that was the only thing that happened today, and that wasn't the only thing that happened, and something else, things started hitting the fan, and maybe a refinery got taken. You never know, right? I mean, so people are thinking they're ahead of the curve when they're actually just participating in the panic and causing the problem.
Because, let's say you fill up all you can fill up.
Mm. How long is that going to last?
Yeah, who gives a shit? You just wasted 6 hours to get some gas, you fucking moron.
Yeah. Well, you've watched what's that?
It'd be better spent getting ammunition or water. What's what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. What's that zombie show? Dang it, my mind is just slipping here. Walking Dead. Yeah. Walking Dead. You see all the the cars on the highway just plowed on the freeways. Like, you know what? If there was a natural disaster or anything like that, the last place I would ever be is on a freeway. No. Because there's nothing there. There is no fuel, very little, maybe on a turnpike or something. Yeah. There's no fuel, there's no food, there's no water. It's put out in the areas that generally don't see a lot of that activity except for certain exits. It's like, no, but you're best off going on side roads and down the country roads and where other people aren't going to be. But out you're talking.
I'm going to the compound.
Yeah, right. But they don't have any fuel out there or water. But I guess it's water. That's true. So out in the desert, you have these people, and here's what I think: if 500,000 people, or even a mass amount of people, I should say a mass amount of people that overwhelms the what do you call it, the non-lethal capabilities, that they decide because the world is watching, we're not going to lay waste to our own citizens, because again, that could spark something else that's
it could
a lot more dire than what they're talking about, right? Because the one thing about this country, they do group together. We all do group together through tragedy and things like that, and we tend to do things.
Sometimes it only lasts for a few days usually. Yeah, after 9/11, everybody didn't care if you were Republican or Democrat, and we were all Americans. Yeah. And then a week later, we just all go back to being children. So.
Well. I mean, you look at things like World War II and during that time of war and stuff. But then again, you have the Vietnam War, but different circumstance, things like that. But just to say, they overwhelmed the forces. I think it would behoove the government to just let it happen. Because I really don't think. Yeah, I mean, I really don't think at this point in time that there would be anything that they could get to that wasn't locked up or whatever that would make any difference. And I just don't. I think it would be such a bad.
And that's the thing too. If these people are going there because they think that the government has UFOs and aliens and all that shit.
Yeah.
They've actually acknowledged the place existed now. Clintons did it in 95. All that shit's gone. If it was ever there. Yeah. If it's a real thing, they're not going to leave it there. I mean,
right, and that's what I'm saying. Why would they risk the security of the nation by again attacking its own people in a mass way?
But I think it goes back to the same reason you don't negotiate with terrorists, right? If you give in once, you've given incentive now. Fair. So if you let these people on this base, and people decide later on they want to go to this base, or we all say, hey, you know what? Let's all walk into the White House. I want to go into the Oval Office, and 500,000 people show up to get in line.
Right.
You can't just let people do that.
You're right, but I mean, theoretically, we should. I mean, it's ours, right? But I mean, the thing that blocks us is national security risk, a security risk to those people in office.
Like, do we all pitch in and help pay for these things? Yes. But at the same point,
should we have access?
I don't think that I have any right or reason to walk into the Oval Office.
No? I mean,
No.
Yeah, you do, except for the fact that now national security is a risk.
Plus,
and
you can go on a tour.
Yeah.
And see some parts of the White House. But, like, what gives me the right to just be like, I want to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom tonight? I'm a taxpayer.
Well, I don't know about sleeping. That's fair. Yeah, you're not sleeping there.
Right? You know, you are a part of a system, and you own a part of that, but that doesn't give you unrestricted, unfettered access to all of it.
True. Oh, that's a good point.
So I don't think they let them on the base.
You don't think so?
I hope not. Fuck no.
But again, even that part of the base, that word base, like, it's pretty small. Like,
what do you mean?
The actual part where the buildings are and whatnot.
It's
miles not much at all.
I mean, they
not only it's miles in, but it's not. There's not much there. Like
that we know of. No, seriously, like
I guess so.
We know all we know for a fact is that they tested the stealth bombers there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they tested a lot of experimental aircraft.
Correct.
There.
Yeah.
So they've got hangars
and stuff like that,
and you don't know what they've got underground.
Now that's a whole different story.
So you might see, one little building, but underground might be who fucking knows, and who cares? Like.
So do you think Russia's sitting over there going, "Oh, I wonder what's going to happen"? Right. Putin's like, "Hey, I got $5 on this. I got $5 on it."
They might have one or two people in the crowd.
It makes you wonder, don't it?
Right.
Like, hey, let's.
They're still spies. It's a real thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is.
So I wouldn't be surprised at all if an event happens like that. Somebody shows up that's just out of curiosity. Spy. Like, maybe we can. And they're not getting in though. There's no fucking way they're gonna let them in.
So you think like maybe 1,000 people actually responded to it, and the other 499,000 were just the Russians, spoofing us here. Like, right. Watch this. We'll really send them into a tirade over here. Like, I think they're gonna go. There's so many other places. If you're gonna do this, that's not the place you'd want to do it.
I didn't click the button.
No,
I didn't click interested. I didn't click going.
No,
I was like, nope. I don't want to be on that list.
I don't even think I've actually seen the event, the real event. I have not seen it. I'm like, I'm good.
I searched for it on Facebook. It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
you could tell it was a joke.
It is.
It raised me like very interesting questions. I'm actually looking forward to it. I think news will be there no matter what.
I think, like you said, a lot of people sign up with no intent to go, and one of the comments I put on Facebook, and again, I don't know if I said this earlier or not, but was people sign up for a lot of things and don't go, like the gym, voting, and and the library. Yeah. We all sign up for crap and never actually participate.
But don't do that too. Like if you have a friend that's in a band or it's having an event or something, if you're interested, great, click interested. But don't click going and then not go.
It's
kind of like,
but things change, right?
I'm helping. Nope. You sure didn't.
No.
No.
Well, what's really bad is when you see some of these events and they have like 4,000 people interested and only 20 people going. It's like, that's not legit. People are just doing that to try to bolster it, and like nobody's really interested in going. But I think it'll be an interesting couple days. I think if they're smart, they'd change the date and don't tell anybody. And then take them by surprise.
How do you do that with 500,000 people?
That's dark web, man.
Underneath.
Of course, there's probably more government agents in the dark web than there are.
Have you seen that iceberg picture shown on the internet?
Yeah. So, to chew that up a little bit, people kind of get like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of nefarious shit out there. No, like your bank account, like your online bank account is part of the dark web. It's not indexed. It's not searchable. The dark web is things that aren't indexed, aren't searchable.
But there's still some weird,
that are protected behind passwords,
some weird
firewalls.
Shit out there.
Absolutely. And it's a large amount of stuff.
Yeah.
But the idea that it's
all bad. It's all black market.
It's like all of your whatever company you work for, if you have a server that you log into that's you remotely, guess what?
That's on
there. Yeah. That's part of that iceberg, that chunk down there. The not public part of the web that you can go to without a password.
I got you.
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm still just at the amount that's out there.
Have you ever,
regardless of nefarious or not, it's a lot.
Have you ever? I mean, not to put yourself hypothetically.
Okay.
Have you ever downloaded the browser and searched around the nefarious part?
Browser and, maybe use a maybe.
Have you? I've never. I never wanted to. There's no reason for me except for curiosity.
Yeah.
And my fear is the curiosity would probably put me somewhere I didn't want to be.
I didn't
unintentionally. So
I didn't go too far.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm not a hacker.
Right.
And I wasn't looking for like, super weird shit. It was just a curiosity you got. I watched a couple videos and I was like, oh, all you have to do is this, this, and this. And
yeah, it's not hard.
And then I was like, oh, well, time to clear this computer out and start over.
Throw that one out the window.
Yep.
Burn that shit.
Just because I didn't want to get into any, fucking weird shit.
For sure.
Like, no, thank you.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Even like responding to that Facebook thing, it's public. You can be probably every one of them people have been put on the list.
Probably.
And so if you ever go into any kind of, federal job or something along the lines, like, guess what? You just actively participated, or at least said you were going to participate in, and what could be, I don't know if treason's the right, it probably wouldn't be treasonous, but an act against the government.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You basically threaten the government, and, I'd be curious to see, how that plays out for some of these people.
I think that if nothing happens on that date, everything will be fine. In a year,
you're still going to be on that list.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll be as big of a deal.
No.
I think if an actual event happens and people try to storm the base, now that list is going to follow you around a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because,
Well, and that's the thing is copycats, people doing it other places. Like, oh, if that works there,
Yeah.
I mean, take it just a real leap. And we both watch these things, the First Amendment people who go around and provoke law enforcement to...
That's one way to look at it.
I mean, but they do. And when people start seeing that...
I don't think they provoke.
That one guy, Desert Eagle, he provokes them. He actually calls the cops on himself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you shouldn't do that.
He calls the cops on himself saying there's somebody out here taking pictures just so they'll show up.
Okay.
Because, he makes money off of it. Why wouldn't he do
still
that?
Shouldn't do that.
You're right. But then again, the cops should also show up and go, okay, this is...
He's taking a picture.
Whatever.
It's fine.
He can sit in his car and all he wants and watch and make sure he doesn't do anything illegal.
Yeah.
Let him be. But but I would say there's a lot of people that see that and go, oh man, maybe I should do that, and there have been tons and tons of copycat people.
But I'm just like, no.
Well,
I don't want to.
Just today, I was driving down a street near my house, and I saw a police officer had some. It looked like they were questioning some people, and I thought, man, it went through my head. It actually went through my head. I should stop and record it. And
I mean, I have recorded police before.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't really want to deal with that.
It's just sort of when it happens,
right? When it happens, yeah, you didn't put yourself in that position on purpose. Yeah. But and
this could be a whole other podcast to talk about this.
We should. Well, and just here across the street from my house, I had some family in town, and I wasn't home at the time, but they had said there was a police officer that was down the street, and somebody was trying to park in front of their house, and the cop was in the parking spot. The cop realized it, so he pulled out and let the guy park on the street, and went down and parked at another part in front of this other guy's house, which happens to be my next door neighbor. And the younger guy who lives there came out with his cell phone, with the camera. I was like, hey, what are you doing here? Why are you harassing me? Why are you in front of the house? Blah, blah, blah. And the cop's like, I'm just doing paperwork. Like, I'm not here for whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know which side I kind of, I'm glad he's in my neighborhood just for the problems we have.
That's an easy one, though.
He has every right to be there.
It's a public road.
Absolutely.
Cop can be there just as much as anybody else can be there.
Yeah, and the guy has every right to record him.
He can record him, yeah.
Right, so it's like it's a stalemate there.
Fine line between recording him and harassing him.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I mean, but anyway. Shoot,
I've seen the citizens of my neighborhood harass cops.
Whole other episode.
Yeah, we'll have to
I'm down to do that one. That's a good one. I like that one.
So that's my thing. I think that they'll, if they do amass 500,000 people and they do overwhelm the thing, is that they'll just let them go. What the consequences of that after that
I don't think they'll let them go. First of all, 500,000 people, we've decided logistically can't do that.
Fair, but I'm saying we're suspending reality.
Okay.
What do you think the government does?
They don't let them in.
How do they stop them?
I think that they would use non-lethal as long as possible, and that if people got too close, they're going to use lethal.
Think so?
Mm-hmm. But I think that they would never let it get to that point. Like, with the subsonic things, fucking water jets. I mean, there are ways to stop people. Yeah. And if you are there and you are seeing this, not lethal, but this very violent reaction, the majority of people are going to go, okay, not fun anymore. Fuck this. I'm out.
Well, let's take it to, so what we've seen this in modern times, Ferguson, Missouri.
Yeah.
Right. The riots. Mm-hmm. I mean, any kind of riot in the United States that we've seen this kind of action for, back in the 60s, 70s, and again, very recent history.
Yeah. April 26, 1992.
Yeah, there's a big one. Yeah. The riots in LA.
Yeah.
I mean, look how long that took to quell. And there was violence against the citizens and stuff.
But they didn't announce 3 months ahead of time that they were going to riot, and they didn't do it at a military base.
Yes. And it's the armament, too. Like, those folks were, I don't say armed, but they were causing destruction and throwing rocks. I know it's not rocks, setting things on fire, arson.
Yeah.
But still, how hard was that to manage?
But
and
again,
that's only a couple thousand people.
But that was in a city. You're talking
Which
about...
seems even easier to...
No,
you're saying
seems
because
more
it's out in the
difficult.
middle...
You're out in the middle of nowhere. And
I mean, it's not like they're going to come there and lay a bunch of napalm out and turn it into glass.
No, but that was my other question too. Like, because there is such a long way to go between like the gate or the property line, I should say, because a lot of it's not fenced. But between the property line and the actual buildings, there could be landmines out there for all we know.
I am sure there are security measures. What do you call it? Automatic security measures. Yeah,
we don't see.
Like passive security measures that they don't have.
Well, they know that they're sensors because there's been YouTubers that have tested it.
Probably seismic and stuff.
That have like just taken a few steps past and then turned around and came back, and then in 5 minutes, those camo dudes show up and they're like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And when a guy with no sense of humor and an M16 shows up and he's angry with you, you tend to just fucking leave.
So what's the date? September what?
I think it was the 20th.
September 20th. Huh? Is that what day is that? Is it Saturday?
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
I'm kind of curious what day that is.
I'll look the event up again.
I'm really. I don't know if I want to be in either.
Maybe I just click going. While I'm at it.
I wonder what it's up to now.
I'll look right now.
And if anybody listening to this is marked as going, what kind of thought did you put into it, and tell us what you think about it, and if you just did it to kind of go with the flow and join in on the masses.
Numbers have grown.
Has it? Well, yeah, like 1.2 million.
3.2 million are going or interested.
I
don't know if that was going to tell me.
I'm betting like a lot of those interested just to watch it to see what.
There's a website now. All right, 1.8 million it says now are going.
Really?
1.4 million are interested. 208,000 shares.
That's insane.
And it is on Friday, September 20th.
Gotcha. So get your gas sometime. If you live out there, I am so sorry.
There's no way this many people show up though.
But even in the general vicinity, man.
But at this point, I'm thinking, man, even if a small fraction, you're talking still 5,000-10,000 people. That's still a lot of people in that little area.
Yeah. Well, big area, but little and logistically as far as stuff.
I'm checking the.
I don't even know how many roads go near that location. I don't even know.
They got. Oh, see this guy? They got a website now. They're selling merch.
That's smart. Capitalism at its finest, man. Yeah. Only in America can you say you're gonna storm a government agency or facility and sell a T-shirt about it and make money.
It's got a picture of an alien on it. It says "I'm coming."
Because I can guarantee you, if you tried doing that in half the other countries in this world, I don't think that would fly very quickly.
Hey, do you remember? Remember Jake?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to that guy?
We don't talk about that guy.
He said he was going to storm the gulag, and all of a sudden he fucking disappeared.
He shot himself in the head 4 times.
Yeah, exactly.
From 20 feet away.
All right, so I don't know. I'll be watching. I'm interested.
Area 51, September 21st, huh?
September 20th.
20th. Man, that's.
I don't think anybody's going to show up, but I like the conversation. I like the thought of it.
I mean, at least they should do it on 420. At least you could say right? You were at least stoned or something. That was a joke, but
420. Let's break in and get these aliens high.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so 9:20. We'll see what happens. Sounds good. So if you're going, leave a comment. We're interested to see what
if you're actually going.
Not
going. If you just clicked going. Yeah. If you bought plane tickets, I want to hear from you.
Yeah, for sure.
Good luck,
That'd
motherfucker.
Awesome.
You're gonna have a bad fucking weekend.
You wonder if they even stop transportation. I'm sure they're gonna take some kind of extreme measures. They'll probably block roads 10 miles away from even the closest part and say, listen, we're just not going to let anybody through here.
Yeah. However, then what about the businesses that are there?
They're screwed.
Not their fault.
No, it doesn't matter.
I don't know if you can legally do that.
Yes, it could. It's a matter of national security. You can totally shut down. Yeah, and they can go out and totally shut down the road. I would imagine a matter of national security.
That would upset me at that point. Like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm not here for this. I'm here to go get a fucking burger from the alien diner. Get out of my way, dickhead. Like, I'm not going on your base.
Yeah, and there's that. You're arguably correct.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
And thanks for listening.
Until next time.